Alright, here we are relocating our hermit crabs that have been cleaned. Hello, Hermes! It's time to go back into the clean waters now that your shells are clean.
During the oil disaster, the hermit crab survival project was down in Grand Isle State Park, a part of the easternmost part of the island. The project was set up to enlist volunteers to take hermit crabs from the beach and clean them.
Yeah, there was a lot of people who were interested in wanting to do something with the oil spill, and that's how the project came about, was trying to find something that these volunteers could do and also be able to kind of have a hand in the cleanup process.
You guys cleaning crabs?
Toothbrushes and such?
Yeah, with toothbrushes, with donated rags. We used Castile soap to clean their outer shells and Q-tips to clean the inside of their shells.
How would you had to get up there so that clean out the inside of their shells so it would stop the oil from clogging up their gills and such?
Yeah, they have their gills on the outside of their exoskeleton, so a lot of them were walking out of the slick onto the shore, and it was getting on top of their shells and inside their shells, and they were kind of getting lethargic as they walked upon shore, and some of them would just stop after a couple of feet because they would just get completely stuck in it. So we would collect them and clean off their shells with just water at first, and then use the soap to clean the inside and outside of their shells. But we saw a lot more hermit crabs just on the beaches, and I think it's a lot of dead hermit crabs in mid-May when we first started getting the big oil slicks on our beach. So we did see thousands of hermit crabs on our beach.
Who had the idea for the survival project? How did it start?
Originally, I really wanted to work with the marine life and bird cleanup. They said you needed a federal license.
Huh.
So they kind of shut the door on that. So I didn't really have any opportunities. So when I saw these crabs on the beach, I was like, oh, maybe I can just clean the crabs up, you know? And my manager was like, yeah, you should call and find out. So I called them, and they said, yeah, I don't think anyone's doing a hermit crab cleanup project. Go ahead, try it out.
Hermit crab underneath. Probably got stuck in the oil and it probably pulled it underneath. But completely covered in oil. Must have suffocated.
Tell me about the hermit crab role in the ecosystem. Like, who eats it? What does it do with the dirt?
It's a detritivore, so it eats decomposing organic material. So it's kind of like the bottom of the food chain, but it's a very important part of the food chain. A lot of shore birds eat hermit crabs.
So like a crawfish, it eats that decomposing plant material, and it's then food for birds.
Right.
And maybe being slow, it could be food for a pelican that might be a little bit slowed down by being covered in oil.
Yeah, I know terns feed on them and gulls. I'm not sure about pelicans. Yeah, it's a major birding hotspot.
What's the future for Grand Isle and for the survival project?
So what are you guys doing?
During low tide, there was this area of sandbars that was exposed, and it had about 6 inches of this congealed oil. And that's where we were collecting them from after the big plumes stopped coming on shore, because originally we just collected them straight off the shoreline because they were just covered in oil. And then we started collecting them from that area because they were getting oil on them from the sandbars, walking on top of the sandbars. And we were really hoping that there would be some cleanup efforts going on, but it's been 5 months now, and there's still that oil sitting back there on the beach. Pick any spot on the beach and you can start seeing the oil.
Yep. So the BP cleanup happening on Grand Isle Beach did not happen in the park?
No,
or?
This is a private part of the beach.
Slides right through your fingers. That's just, see how all the tar's in there?
It's a bird sanctuary. We had Wilson's plovers and least terns nesting. We didn't want heavy machinery back there because it's already a very fragile spot where there's a lot of erosion going on. It's right in between the easternmost part of the island and Grand Terre, where Berea Pass goes through. So there's a lot of erosion on that part of the island.
So to put a bulldozer out there, which they were using to pick up bags or sand, would have just destroyed the thing you're trying to save.
Yeah, you could pick any spot on the beach and just start digging. These old sandbars right now are covered with about 2 inches of sand. 50 meters long and about 30 meters wide, you'll see all these exposed sandbars, about 6 inches of congealed oil. So the hermit crab project kind of transformed into just a relocation. We no longer had to clean them because they weren't crawling in the oil anymore because it all had sunk to the bottom.
Yeah, that smells like a car tire. Just look at that.
Yeah, fish are eating the crabs. People are eating the fish. Everything's back to normal.
So we were just moving them about 15 miles north in a area that wasn't impacted by the oil.
Can people see the results of what you've been doing if they go down to the state park?
Yeah, we worked with over 200 volunteers, and we saved about over 8,000 hermit crabs.
Do the hermit crabs tunnel into the sand at all?
They do.
So is there a chance that they'd get oiled by like trying to make homes or something like that if there's oil underneath the beach?
Yeah. So oil gone means oil is
Gone from sight, unless we dig 6 inches.
even on the public beaches though. They still have oil that's sunk into the sand that they're cleaning now at Grand Isles Beach.
So I think it'd be safe to say that So here we are juggling.
Pretty heavily oiled globs of sand.
Came out from about 10 feet offshore.
As you hold it, it starts to form a nice little ball.
Perfectly clean sand out here.
See if I can
I don't
see what
know.
BP's doing with our future here.
I don't know where all the oil went. Where did all the oil go?
It's just out of sight, conveniently out of sight. You dig a few feet and you find this unnatural looking sludge that falls in on itself, and you can't keep a hole open. It just slides together, and it's all black and different. It smells like a tar field. It's really awful.
So if a human digs, but these hermit crabs are digging, that's kind of part of their ecological business, like different kinds of mud crabs and stone crabs, is to dig into the soil. So they're going to continue to be kind of endangered by this continued oil underneath our sand.
Yeah,
But there's no cleanup in sight.
Yeah, what I worry about, well, there's still little tar balls that are coming up on the shoreline, and there's also sheen everywhere. So I worry about that too. Like, how are they going to be affected by just the waters that are contaminated as well?
Are you keeping track of how many there are, maybe? Or how many hermit crabs could you collect with 10 volunteers?
We collected, well, if we had enough
collected
volunteers, we usually collected around 1,000 a day. And I'd say about 5 to 10% of that wouldn't survive after cleaning them up and leaving them in the tanks for about 24 to 72 hours.
So if we go down and do that in another year or two, and we see fewer crabs, do you think it's the oil?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what's good though is that they're not climbing through this gloopy stuff anymore, and even though it's not good that the oil is being covered up by sand, at least they're not crawling in it anymore as well. So
That big fish kill that was on the news a couple of days ago, apparently unrelated to the massive amount of toxins in the Gulf all of a sudden.
Right. It's very interesting. I've heard there's also data showing very large levels of certain heavy metals in the water as well. That could have also led to the fish kill. I mean, you could just say it's low oxygen, and that happens every time. But why is there low oxygen?
right.
Yeah.
And if low oxygen plus metals might stress the fish out even more.
Yeah.
And where do all those things come from?
Yeah.
These are questions everyone can ask.
I know that scientists or the government gives an answer that everything is okay.
Yeah. No. They love to say further investigation is needed.
Well, independent scientists like Dr. Samantha Joy at UGA, right? It seems like they're just causing more problems for the government by finding all this.
Yeah, right.
At least you're looking good doing it.
What's going on always on the top?
Flocculent oil on the floor of the Gulf around the blowout. So
It's an anomaly.
how did that get there?
So this is sediment, shells, and oil that you can just ball up. So instead of clean sandcastles, kids can come juggle tar balls.
Alright, I'll show you how to do that.
BP's new PR move. Come have fun juggling tar balls.
Oh, okay. Well, is there anything else you'd like to leave us with, Fraser, Leanne?
It's not over,
Mhm.
that's for sure. We've left the site of our original project, but there's still a lot more cleanup and a lot more attention to be given to the situation.
And anyone, I mean, I ran into a lot of red tape and closed doors, but what's really great about the project is it started with just a tank that my mom donated to me, and then it just grew with Fraser and friends coming along. The project grew. People really wanted to help, so it was a really great experience working with all these volunteers and who came down and had this really great connection to the environment.
Okay, here's Fraser, and he's practicing BP, clean sand, shot put.
Felt like they were actually doing something and helping, and you know, it was just a really great experience altogether.
Way to go!
To kind of be inspired and also inspiring other people.
Someone mark the sheen. I think that was about 25 feet.
But if they had just told us the truth in the beginning and asked for our help, it would have been a much different situation than this lies and then sensationalism, where the truth lies somewhere in between.
Word. All right. Leanne, Fraser, the Hermit Crab Survival Project, Grand Isle State Park.
Thanks, Scott.
No problem. Thanks, you guys.
It's not enough. Okay, I think that's enough.